Hi guys, welcome to another episode of The Coin Show. I've got my video camera going here so I can chat with you for a minute. I've got something down here you might see as new, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And you can probably guess what I'm doing today based on that over there. That's the Lincoln Cent Resource Guide website. If you're going through Lincoln Cents, you need to have that website pulled up and check it with the coins you're looking through, because if you don't, you might run into the situation that I have right here that we're going to be talking about today, and that is old collections that were never checked for errors, repunched mint marks, double dies, anything. Just an old collection back before all this information was readily available on the internet. An old collector just took the coins and threw them in a Whitman book and filed it away and called it good. That's the case today. And this is my personal collection that I started when I was 8 or 9 years old. So I know for a fact that my 8 or 9 year old self knew nothing about the stuff in this website over here. So what hidden gems are in my Whitman books? And for reference, I brought them along. And I've got Volume 1, 1909 through 1940. Volume 2, or Book 2, 1941 through 1974, and then I've just got a blank cents book that I've written in one coin per year for as many coins as this Whitman will hold. Now, like I said, I've had these for 35 plus years, and this is the book my grandfather got me started on because he had this exact book. 1909 to 1940. He was born in 1909, so the Lincoln Cent was always close to his heart. So this is the book he started with. And then when I was a young lad, he bought me this book, 1941 through 1974, because, well, these are a lot easier to find in circulation. And in fact, when I started this book, it was in the 70s, so it was really easy to find the coins later on in the book here. So these are guaranteed unsearched, and I did not search these before I started recording this right now. So whatever I find in these books, you guys are going to find it right along with me at the exact same moment. So hopefully this turns out being really cool. Now, I'm going to address what you see down there, the window underneath me. So what I did was I went on the popular auction site and bought myself, you'll see, well, down here, it's just off screen, but it's a microscope, a USB microscope. Let me see if I can bring it over here. There we go. Now this is on a stand, which I have over here, and you can place the objects you want to view down here and magnify up onto your computer screen that you see, where is it? Over there. There we go. My directions are opposite on this camera. So right here is what this microscope is seeing. So there we go. And this could come in handy for some weird kind of technical effects, special effects. Anyway, I'm just hand holding it at the moment, and I'm going to put them on the books over here and scan through and check things out with the Lincoln Cent resource over there. First, I've got to work on the focus because this is set up for the stand and not being handheld. So bear with me for a moment. All right, and I'm going to go from 1909 all the way through up to 1940 in this book. I have holes like most of us collectors do in this volume 1 book. I don't have the 1909 SVDB in this book or the 1909 S in this book, mainly because I don't have them. But if I did have them, I would not put them in this old Whitman book. Those deserve to be in a snap-tight holder, at least, if not graded. So let's start this journey here. And this is handheld, so forgive the jerkiness sometimes. Now what I'm going to be looking for is anything that appears here on the Lincoln Cent resource, I may have to move things around a little bit. So, I'm going to be a little guy down here at the bottom of the screen. And of course, the coins are going to be the focus because that's the focus of the show. So here we go. Starting with 1909. Now, mainly I'm going to be looking for repunched mint marks. I don't have a 1909S, so no worries about that. And this one's a Philadelphia anyway, so no mint mark. But I can also check for things that we've already talked about in other shows. Die cracks, cuds, die chips, other sort of minor errors. But even if I don't find anything at all, I've never looked at coins under a microscope before, so I was actually pretty giddy when the mail came in and this package was here. In the past, I've used an overhead television studio projector that was pretty good, but got nowhere near this close. This is just amazing. So really, nothing going on here that I've seen. And as you can tell, this coin is pretty well worn. Nice big gouge there across Abe's chin. Cut himself shaving. So, nothing going on with this one. Now, I'm only going to check the obverses on this video here. I really don't have time to pull out every coin and flip it over and check the reverses. But I will at some point because the Lincoln Cent resource also lists double die reverses for a number of coins in this book. So it's worth going back later, taking the coins out, flipping them over, checking the reverses as well. But for this video, I'm just going to scan through the obverse, looking for repunched mint marks and other errors we talked about. So we're going on to, and that was a VDB, by the way. So actually, you know what? I'm going to lie. Because curiosity just told me that I've never seen the VDB, which is Victor David Brennan, the designer of the Lincoln Cent. I've never seen his initials under a microscope. And there is something that I can tell you guys about the mint mark here. Sorry, the designer's initials here. But you can just make it out here, VDB. This coin is creeping on me. All right, come here. There we go. A little better light. VDB. Now, on the 1909S VDB, there are a lot of counterfeits out there because it's a very valuable coin. One of the diagnostics that the experts use to determine if it's a genuine VDB cent or not is this B right here. The copies almost always get the font of this B wrong. A real B is slanted right here in the center, and the fake ones are generally straight across. So the B of the designer's initials on the back is used as a diagnostic tool to see if it's a genuine article or a fake Chinese restamp. So put that in your mental hat and keep it. So if you ever come across a 1909S VDB cent, which is extremely valuable, check the B. And if it's slanted, like this one is right here, it's a genuine B. If it's straight across, it's fake. So as long as I got this sent out, I'm going to do a quick tour around the reverse because I've never seen a reverse of these under the microscope either. There we go. And this cent is pretty beat up, so we're not going to get a whole lot of detail out of it. But I'm just looking around. Oh, look at that. The stalks are nicely separated. I'm looking for die cracks around the rim. I'm not seeing any. Well, the wheat stalks are very separated on this one too. So Despite being beat all to hell, this coin looks like it's in pretty good shape. I apologize for the shakiness in my hand right now. You can see all kinds of dirt and debris on this cent. Little tiny microfibers, lint. I'm not even sure what those white spots are. But this is just a well-worn old cent that's been in this folder for 30 plus years. There we go. All right, well, I want to put that one back in. Nothing fantastic going on with that one. So next up is the 1909 non-VDB cent. Let me refocus here. I got to reorientate. Camera here. There we go. There's Liberty. Looks like Y took a few hits over the years from circulation. Again, looking for die cracks. I thought for a second I had one here, but that's just a scratch from circulation. And you can tell old Abe has seen better days. Just barely a profile on this. Very well worn. And the date seems normal, so nothing going on with this one either. Look how close this microscope gets. There's the hair fibers right there. There's the hair fibers of the Whitman whole for this book. So I'm getting some spectacular results with this. I'm not seeing anything here. Okay, and going on to a 1910. Nothing going on there. Check the rim for die cracks. With cents this worn, it's hard to tell if this is a die crack or a scratch from circulation. It appears like it might have been a die crack, but this is a scratch right here, so it's so hard to tell when they're this worn out. Nothing going on in Liberty. These early Lincoln cents are notorious for these chips that form in between the L, the I, the B, and the E. They will start to join here. There'll be big blobs of metal. I see it a lot in 1940s and 50s cents. This actually right here, I'm thinking is going to be a die scratch or a gouge on the die. It's raised up. You can see it's above the field here. It's raised up and it starts and stops at the letter. Now if it was a scratch from circulation, the scratch would maybe start over here, go on top of the letter G, hit back here, scratch across the field, then go on top of the letter O. This appears to start and stop exactly on the letter. So this might be a die gouge or a die scratch, and then the scratch is stamped onto the coin. In every subsequent coin that die stamps, the scratch is going to be present. So this is a 1910 Philadelphia. So if I come across any more 1910 Philadelphias, I'm going to remember this die scratch here and maybe try to find some more. And if you find more than one example of the same little defect on a coin, then you know it was actually in the die and stamped onto the coin and didn't happen later. So I'll put this in my little book of knowledge and check my other 1910s later. Not much else going on. And another thing about really old coins is sometimes it might have been an error coin, and it still might be an error coin, but they're going to be really hard to diagnose when they're this worn down. And we'll talk more about that later when we get on to some of the nicer coins later on in this book. Here's a 1911, again, Philadelphia. Why? Because they're cheaper. And for one reason or another, on coin roll hunting, I tend to find a lot more Philadelphia than I find mint-marked coins. And it's clearly a 1911. Other than that, can't really tell much. See some corrosion here, copper turning green. Scratch. A lot of staining on Liberty. So here's one thing here. Because of condition, if the 1911 Philadelphia coin had a double die obverse, this might be it. You really can't tell because the letters are so smashed flat from years of circulation. You can barely make out the I and L over here. And all this staining that's going on. But these coins have really been pounded flat in a lot of the details. So this may have been a double die obverse, if there was such a thing for this year. I'm really not going to be able to tell based on the condition of this coin. And the motto up here is just blending right into the background with all the stains and discolorations and corrosion and tarnish. Really not much you can see. T is almost completely gone here. I'm not even sure what parts of it remain. So when you get down to these really beat up lower grade coins, there's sometimes not a lot you can discover about them. Now we're getting into some better condition coins here coming up, so bear with me. There's a 1912 Philadelphia Mint. Going around the rim looking for die cracks, cuds. And there's something coming up later on in these coins when we get to it that I'll show you right here at the base of the bust that you may or may not know about. We'll cover that starting with the 1918 cents. So there's a clue for you. Liberty, not much going on here. Continue our tour around the rim. Letters on this one are considerably better than the other ones. So nothing going on here. That is probably a scratch. Yeah, you can see right here it's dented in and the metal's folded over. So that's a scratch. And Abe's looking a little bit better. Actually have an eyelid here. So this one is less worn and beat up than the previous ones. It's still pretty beat up though. Now we're going on to 1912. D, our first mint mark. And again, this microscope really picks up a lot of the defects on the coin, a lot of discoloration. That's not really so prevalent with the naked eye. The microscope really brings it out. 1912, Denver Mint. Here's the serif of a nice looking mint mark. You can see the curvature here, and the serif on the top, the serif at the bottom, and the hole in the center. So this is a pretty well defined mint mark for that era. Or on a coin of this condition. Sorry, got some tea here. Ah, delicious. Okay, and checking over here for RPMs, repunch mint marks. I don't see a 1912 on the list, so let's just carry on looking for anything funky going on with this cent. Liberty, nothing going on there. And this motto is pretty well gone. There we go. IN. It's really starting to merge with the fields. TRU, and trust is pretty much gone. The date is pretty much the nicest feature of the entire coin. Up next, 1913. Nice strong date. Checking along the rim. The bust here is in a lot better shape than our previous coins, and there's something I'm going to show you right in here. Just a couple more coins, so stay tuned for that. Here's Liberty. Now there's something weird going on over here. Some novice collectors might think this is a double the die. It's not. This is actually damaged. You can see a straight line from here all the way down. This is coin contact damage, or some other straight object has smashed the L right here. You can see it's flattened out, put like a foot shape on the end of the L here. So that's damage. And that really goes in line with the rim here. You can see this damage along the rim. It should be nice and straight like this down here, but the metal's folded in on itself. So this is a hit in this area. Post-mint damage. Checking out the motto. You can see a lot of corrosion forming inside the letters of the coin here. Another hit right here. And these coins are well circulated, so we're going to see lots of scratches and dents and dings. And Abe's got an eyelid, so it's a little better condition. A little bit of beard stubble here. So the coin looks fairly decent with the naked eye, but you put it in the microscope, all these little imperfections really show up. So this is where the grading services come in handy. I might think with my naked eye this is a very good condition coin, or even a fine coin. Put it in the microscope, it looks about good. A lot of wear, a lot of damage, a lot of dirt. All right, moving on to 1913. Believe it or not, that's a D. Let's see if maybe turning the lighting down on this will help a little bit. Get some more contrast in there. Nope, not at all. So anyway, 1913, and this is a D. I assure you it's there. It's visible with the naked eye. There we go. There we go. D. But this coin is so worn. That is a bit hard to tell. But I assure you, that's a D. So let's take a look around. I don't think we're going to see much on this coin. Hey, I got a phone call. Hang on, I'll be right back. Hello, Access Vision. This is Jeff. Hello. Can I help you? All right. Okay, we're still focused. All right, we're going to look around the rim here. And really, I can't even see the motto. Gone. This cent is heavily worn. Moving on. Let's see if you guys can spot what this is. One, 1914. And according to my book, at least where I put it in my book, it's a 1914 Philadelphia. I don't see any indication here that this was a mint-marked cent. I wish it was a 1914D, but I don't think it was. And even on the microscope, I can't prove that it ever was. So we're going to call it a 1914D. I'm going to scan through this one pretty quick because this one is in rough shape. Now, here we go. Big gouges and scratches over here. And there's the hint of liberty. We got a Y. Now, this book was built by hand with coins all pulled from circulation. So they are well worn. ST. If there was any errors on this coin, we're never going to find them. Going on. 1915. Pretty strong date. No mint mark. A lot of damage along the rim here. Liberty is a bit stronger than the last specimen we saw, but it's all beat up, flattened out. In fact, I can't even tell where the L and the I separate themselves. Refocus from time to time, in case I'm bumping the focus. And it doesn't hurt from time to time to rotate the camera around and look at the details in a different light. At first I was seeing extra little bit of S over here, extra little bit of R there, a little extra bit of U there, but it's actually the lighting, the 3D, because you've got to remember these are not flat on the coin, they're raised up off the surface, so they're actually three-dimensional objects. So you're seeing right here is the very top of the U. What you're seeing here is the light reflecting off the vertical side of the U, where it goes from the plateau of the top of the letter down to the surface of the coin. So these are three-dimensional blocks of letters. So this is the top, and you're seeing a side right here. So when you move the light around a little bit, you change, there we go, right here, you change the lighting, and that goes away, because now we're staring at the direct top of the coin. I turn this a little bit. You can see, the side of that coin. So it's not double die, it's just you're seeing a three-dimensional object in 2 dimensions and misinterpreting what you're seeing. So let's go on to the next one. And we left off with 1915, so I'm queued up here to the 1915D, as you can see. Nothing over here on the repunched mint mark list, so no worries in checking this. We'll check the rest of the coin for any minor errors. Then I'm going to kick it up a notch and go directly to some of these coins on the list and try and find some kind of error or repunched mint mark here for you guys during this video. But first, let's get through this 1915 real quick. And I also promised you a look at the 1918 cent right here in this area, and we'll talk about that when we get there. So here's Liberty, and this is a die crack. What are you focusing on a little bit? Now, how we know it's a die crack runs here through the coin. Looks like there might be even a secondary crack forming right here, but it runs through the field and through the letter here. There's also a weird little anomaly right here on the side of the T, which I'm not really sure about. It might be damage, or it might be the start, since it ends right here, this crack going through, and you can see right here it breaks the R. Here's the side of the R. It breaks through there, goes down around the E, back up, then back down around the B, and follows over through the bottom of the I, and it's lost in all the wear and tear of this L. This L has actually been hit pretty hard right here. The bottom part is missing, so it looks like another part of another eye merging in with the rim here. But this is a die crack, and usually when they form in one part of the coin, they rapidly streak their way off to the rim, and sometimes there's a cud forming here. This might actually be part of a cud joining the side of the L to the rim. That's probably the case, but it's just the coins wore out enough where you can't really be definitive on that. But this is a crack, a stress crack running along these elements of the lettering up through the R, breaking the side of the R here, through the R, over the T, to the Y, and this part right here might be another part of the die that's broken off and it's forming a small cud right here against the T. And it disappears over this way. Let's see if it goes any further. Nope, kind of stops in this area right here. But nice little die break. There's even a small break happening right here between the T and the Y. Possibly one here between the R and the T. Might be a scratch, might be a die crack. But this is a die crack, so that's kind of cool. I will write that down on a list I've got over here on the side so I can go back and check this coin out in detail again later. But hey, we found something out of the handful of coins we looked at so far. Come up with one die crack. And again, these books are unsearched. I built this book with my grandfather when I was like 8 or 9 years old. So these coins have never been checked for anything. These coins have never been checked for anything other than date and mint mark to fill the holes of this album. That piece of dirt, dog hair maybe. I have dogs. So 1915D. I got a nice die crack on that one. So anyway, let's jump ahead to the 1918, and I'll see if I got a coin here good enough shape to show you guys something. There we go, 1918. And right over here in the bust area of Lincoln, there we go. This is the first appearance of the designer's initials on the bust of Lincoln. There we go, Victor David Brennan. Now in 1909, they were on the reverse of the cent, like I showed you earlier. And for whatever reason, they were removed from the back of the cent almost immediately. I've read that the cents were struck for about 3 days, and apparently there was a public outcry that this designer had the hubris to put his initials on a coin, and the dies were reworked, removing his mint mark from the back. Now, what kind of public outcry could result in the mint changing the design in just 3 days back in 1909 escapes me. They didn't have social media. They didn't have a 24-hour television news cycle, so how could a public outcry in 3 days result in the mint going back and retooling their dies and removing the mint mark? That escapes me. And there's no real clear answer online. It just says that after 3 days, the dies were changed. The mint marks were removed. So probably one of those little histories that have been lost to time. But fast forward a few years, almost a decade later, and his initials appear on the bust of the Lincoln cent, and they remain there to this very day. So if you have a chance, pull out a penny, look down here, lower left-hand side of the bust, and you will see Victor David Brennan's initials on the cent from 1918 forward. And this is also used as a diagnostic for some fake coins later on in the series we'll talk about. Remember the 1914D cent that I did not have in this book earlier because that's pretty rare? Well, in the 40s, somebody got the bright idea of taking the 1944 cent and sawing off the first 4, the 40 part of the 4, and turning it into a 1914 cent. But they didn't really count on this being present in the bust of the 1944 cent, where it did not exist in the 1914 cent. So if you're looking at a 1914D cent, one of the diagnostic tools you can use to see if If it's a fake or not is if it has the VDB initials on the bust. It was minted 1918 or newer, so you're looking at a 1944 cent that was altered to a 1914 cent. That's one of the diagnostic tools that collectors look for. Not much going on in Liberty. Pretty strong details in this one. And you can see it's a pretty well-loved, well-circulated, tarnished cent. 1918. All right, now that I've shown you the VDB and the bust there, let's skip ahead to this list and see if I have any repunched mint marks. The next one on the list, 1927D, I do have that one. It's over here, 1927D. And although it's dirty around the mint mark here, I can plainly see a serif here and a serif there. And it's a single mint mark, so it is not the D over D. Let's click on that to show you guys what it would look like. There we go. So here we go. Here's what it would look like. You can see a break here, another serif here, and then this line going through, which might be a die crack or die scratch. Or it might be the serif here doubled. It's not quite clear. But you can tell this does not look like this. So I do not have a repunched D mint mark. And this one down here, this serif has been knocked off quite a bit. So I have a nice bold serif here. So this does not look like the coin I have. I do not have 1927 D over D. Two more in this book we can check real quick. The 1938 S, which I have over here. Okay. There's a little bit of weirdness going on right here. This is worn down enough where this might be hiding a doubled mint mark. Let's see here. Nope, that is not the case. Clearly, there's another S serif up top here and the start of a curve here. I do not have that. The second serif would be up top here. So definitely not that one. There's also a triple punched mint mark here. Let's see. My cent is pretty well worn. Where these small details are right here, that one's a little bit more prominent. But you can see I don't have anything in that area over here on my coin. These smaller, minute details here might have been hiding under the dirt here, but with how worn this cent is, they probably just were non-existent, and this is not the triple S mint mark for 1938. So no RPMs did we find in this little hunt. But let's just go back and play around a little bit. We left off with 1915. Back where we started here. And move over to 1915D. Nothing going on there. Over 1915S. And again here, this is 1915, so no VDB mint mark down here. We talked about that earlier. Liberty is nice and strong. Nothing going on. Looking for die cracks or cuds or any weirdness going on. Now here's one thing you can see, which we haven't talked about before. These weird kind of striations. This is actually in the metal of the coin. it's a alloy problem when they were mixing the copper and the tin and zinc, the metals that make up Lincoln cents, the bronze coins back in these years. If they didn't get the mixture just right, if there was a little bit too much of one element or the other, or wasn't mixed or heated high enough or mixed properly, you get these striations in the metal content of the coin itself. These are called woody cents. It's a really common thing to have happen in coins of really any era, but the Lincoln cents are more known for this type of defect than most other coins. Doesn't appreciate the value at all, really, but some collectors think they're neat and they keep them, hold on to them. You can see here a little bit metal striations through this coin as well. So the alloy mixture in the early 20th century was really hit and miss. And this right here might be a small lamination issue. It's not really straight, so it doesn't look too much like a crack or a scratch. Again, going along with the metal alloy issue, if the mixture's not quite right, one layer can begin to peel away from the other and cause a lamination issue like that. Some are really striking and huge and affect large areas of the design. Those are pretty cool and collectible and worth a little bit more than your standard Lincoln cent. This one's very well worn, 1916D. Probably not going to be able to make out too much of the detail here to look for errors. Liberty is pretty well obliterated there. Alright, not much going on with 1916D. Move over to 1916S. It's pretty beat up, but you can see an S mint mark right here. Quick tour around the rim. Scratches. Maybe a bit of a die crack or lamination error here. No big deal. Generally, you have to see something with a microscope that you don't see with the naked eye. Even if it is an error, that's not a big, valuable error. Nothing going on with Liberty. Take a tour around the rim. Alright, moving on. This one's really worn. Believe it or not, that's 1917. And this one's so worn, it's probably not even worth going around looking for things. Again, this is probably a woody cent. Different colors of tarnish, stain, different copper colors running through. A lot of the detail in this one's just obliterated. That's pretty visible what this is. Again, look at all this different color the metal's turning. So this is probably more of a coppery mixture here and more zinc and tin around here. They all tarnish different ways, so this makes quite a rainbow color palette on the coin. That's a hair. Not much going on here. See how much the copper reacts over time. Nothing. There you go. 1917S. Pretty strong date. There's more striations. Metal content. This is nothing. Ignore that. That is not a T. It's just a scratch or a ding or a fluff of hair from the book over here falling onto it. There's no microscopic printing on Lincoln Cents. The initials of VDB over here, which are 1918 forward, are the smallest items on the cent. That imagined T you saw over there was too small to be anything that Mint would actually put on. Pretty well gone. All right. 1918. We looked at this earlier. We'll just recap right there. VDB initials, just initials of the designer. 1918D, date barely visible. And the initials are here, but they're so dirty they're pretty much unseeable. I got damage here, damage there. That could be lamination. It's not a die crack because this is a sunken in area of the coin. The die crack itself would be raised above the coin, so this is probably a lamination error creeping its way through. But it is minuscule, so I'm not worried about it. $1918S. Look like a bit of a cud forming here around the 1. Very small break in the die. Metal filled it in. Not really too big to worry about. And you can see a little bit of the VDB here on the initials. Another woody type scent. The composition is all over the place. Some good scratches there. A lot of corrosion around the U. All right, up to the next page. This is a 1919. The 1 is pretty much gone from wear. When a cent gets into this condition, there's just not much you can look for because a lot of the minor details that would pop up in a repunched mint mark or a die crack or cuds and those sort of things they're worn away over time. 1919D, the entire date here is barely visible above the field. So probably nothing worth seeing here. Liberty itself is pretty well worn away, as is the motto. Interesting little marks here. 2 perfectly circular marks, and this one appears to have some kind of design in the middle of it. This is post-mint damage. I don't know what hit here and here, but it was definitely not made at the mint. Who knows what happened in 1919? and up on this penny. There you go. That's a pretty clear date, 1919S. Let's see. There we go. The VDB is pretty strong. VDB. You can even see little dots in between the initials on this one. So, in a little better condition than some of our previous ones. Again, these were all pulled out of circulation. Some by my grandfather. And some by me when we used to coin roll hunt on weekends. But these older ones, I guarantee you, he pulled out of his pocket change through the years. Nothing really going on there. Move over. 1920. Liberty, a lot stronger than some of the earlier ones we looked at. Nothing here. So I'm going through these pretty quick. So if I miss a detail and you guys spot it, let me know in the comments. And I can go back and search these coins later and more in depth, but I'm just breezing through these now, trying to get through at least one book today. Liberty's pretty well gone, worn away. In is almost non-existent. Just not much to look at when the coins get down to this bad of shape. And we're continually seeing this pattern of striations in the coin from the alloy being not mixed quite properly. It's a very common issue with early Lincoln cents. There's probably the strongest date we've seen yet. Now, since we've gone through the double repunch mint marks without any success, let's check out double dies. And there are a few on the list here we can check for. Nothing up until 1936. The rest of the coins we have here, so we'll check those as we go along. VDB. Moving on. Now this is in the 1921 S hole. I'm not entirely sure there's a mint mark here. Might be a little bit of the serif here. Right there. Could be. I'll have to go back over this with the naked eye, maybe a magnifying glass. But I just can't prove that's an S. My young eyes may have been fooled on this one. Liberty is obliterated. One of those small. I saw this earlier. Another cent. Another small discoloration here. And then there again is that tiny X detail that I attributed to a small screw last time. That is a bit odd. I'm going to take snapshots of these imperfections from those last two coins and post it in a coin group and say, hey, anybody else seen anything like this before? What is it? Because I certainly don't know everything about coins. Very few people do. So when you come across something you don't know what it is, phone a friend, poll the crowd, ask somebody with more knowledge than you. So that's what I will do. VDB, very strong on this one. Rim damage, corrosion, Just all the hallmarks of an old penny. Moving on. 1923S. Look at the striations on this one. It's almost distracting. All right, 1924. There we go. It's a nice strong date. And you can see striations in this one as well, going in the this direction. Again, minor variations in the alloying process. VDB. Liberty. Right, moving on. This one is not a 1925D. I've got it in the 1925D slot. That is not a 1925D. There's no evidence of a mint mark there. That's one where my eyes, or perhaps my grandfather's eyes, were fooled. Because he built this book when I was young. I helped him put it together. Maybe I said, "Hey, Grandpa, I found a 1925D." And he put it in the slot. And somebody was wrong. So I'll have to take this one out of the folder.
Access Vision, your voice, your community.